sure a lot of you have seen me year after year. There's a lot of familiar faces in the room. I have to start by saying a big thank you to you as taking on this leadership role within the university. It is a big undertaking because we wouldn't be able to do the work that we do with the SECA campaign without your support. And secondly, to the university as a whole. Last year brought in about $40,000. And looking at United Way of Chester County's annual report, where we list the local businesses and organizations that lead the way in terms of fundraising, West Chester University is right here in this first column. So in terms of the support that you're giving back to the local community, West Chester University really is at the forefront. And in terms of the local SECA campaign and the state agencies, West Chester University does bring in the highest fundraising amount of any of the ones in Chester County. So that's a big congratulations and a big thank you as well. For those who aren't too familiar with SECA and with United Way's role, basically organizations and nonprofits are not really allowed to directly solicit state employees. Thus, Pennsylvania developed what is known as the SECA campaign. It's a campaign that has 8 umbrella organizations, and you'll see those in the resource guides, and online we'll explain that a little bit further. But United Way was invited to be one of those 8 organizations. Within United Way, we are allowed to invite our partner agencies. So for United Way of Chester County, those would be our funded partners within Chester County. We're invited to allow them to participate in the SECA campaign if they so wish. To be accepted as a SECA agency, it is a pretty difficult process. The applications and subsequent materials are reviewed by the Office of Administration and the IRS in Harrisburg. United Way doesn't decide which agencies do or do not receive the SECA seal of approval, as they say. That's all done in Harrisburg. We basically just facilitate the process. But once those agencies are accepted, they're allowed to be listed in the resource guide and be eligible to receive a designation from a state employee. They're not guaranteed funding by being listed in this resource guide. They're just given the opportunity. So I can assure you that the agencies that you will see listed, both those that are listed under United Way of Chester County and as well as the other United Ways and subsequent organizations in the state, they've gone through a long process. So they really are the top-notch organizations that you'll find. If there's an organization that's not listed there, they may not have qualified. So it doesn't necessarily mean they didn't meet the qualifications. They may have chosen not to qualify. So I always want to put that little footnote in. But with United Way, we basically facilitate, as I said, the SECA campaign locally. We have the opportunity to come out to organizations such as West Chester University, tell you a little bit about SECA, and also a little bit about what your gifts can do. Dr. Weisenstein really said it perfectly. I almost want to take exactly what you said verbatim and repeat it. And that he said there is a great need in this community, and now is the time. We have the opportunity, we have given so much as a university here, have the opportunity to give even more. I can tell you from personal experience that the United Way of Chester County, our funding requests have grown drastically in the last year from these agencies. And obviously the funds have decreased a little bit. So there is that need. The need is growing. There's a lot of individuals and families who a couple years ago, perhaps they were donors to a SECA campaign or a United Way campaign. They were doing really well, really didn't have many worries. Those same individuals and families are now finding themselves in a need of some capacity, whether it's financially, anything of that nature. So there's a lot of individuals out there who really are new to the social services of meeting the needs. And then there are the individuals and families who, they've been in this position for a while now and really can't find their way out. So as a community, SECA really is our opportunity to come together and to really help them out. As for United Way of Chester County, we are listed as a designated agency in the SECA campaign. So while we cannot directly solicit, we do always like to note that we are listed as a designated agency, and any funds that are directed towards United Way, we actually help out all of the agencies that you see listed below us. So we encourage you to consider that. Molly, I know, will speak more about the resource guide, so I don't want to go into too much detail about that. But I did lastly want to focus on the pledge form. For those who've been a part of this campaign in the past, you'll notice one major difference, which I hope that you'll like, the blank pledge forms. So you can literally just hand them out. Don't have to worry about, putting the right name with the right pledge form, things of that nature. They're completely blank, so it's up to the individual to fill it out completely themselves. I want to make sure I mention that it's 26 pay periods. So if your fellow employees asked you about that, make sure that they put in the 26 for the number of pays they receive a year. But basically with the pledge form, it's pretty self-explanatory. An individual would have to fill out their donor information, especially in the case of receiving an acknowledgement. Something that with SECA and beyond, a lot of organizations that are receiving pledges from people, the donor will come back and say that they did not receive a thank you for their pledge. More times than not, the case for that is that the donor did not fill out their information. If there's not an address listed, unfortunately the agency would have no way of contacting them for an acknowledgement. So I want to make sure that that's clear. The employee will look through the resource guide, will find an agency, does not have to be limited to one agency. They are allowed to designate to more than one. There'll be a code next to it, and they'll simply fill it out on here. They'll fill out the amount that they want to designate per year. If there's more than one agency, they can list them here. Just make sure that the amount adds up to what they put in the total. Pretty self-explanatory, as I said. If there are any questions, Molly is obviously here as a resource for you, as well as myself. In terms of the pledge form and beyond, any SECA questions that you might have or that your fellow employees might have, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. As I said, we are a resource here for you. Sometimes there are general questions, logistical questions. Sometimes there's more sensitive questions, whether it's about a specific agency, maybe perhaps a misconception about a particular agency, or even wondering why wasn't an agency listed in here and you thought that they would have been. Please don't hesitate to reach out to Molly and in turn reach out to me. At United Way, for our campaigns, something I always encourage, and that's always encouraging the SECA campaign, our door is always open, and part of my job really is to answer all these questions for you, or to sit down and have a conversation with somebody who's unclear about SECA, or a little confused about things. So please don't hesitate. Molly has all of my contact information, email, phone, whatever. I'm always here. So I think I've said enough. But again, I have to thank you. You're volunteering for this leadership role, and like I said, we wouldn't be able to do the work that we do, and the university, raising $40,000, it's a big undertaking, and we wouldn't be able to do it without you. So thank you so much for your support, and I'll let Molly go into more details about the